Hi guys and welcome to Throwzone.com. This is Mohit Soni. Today in front of you there are two motorcycles that want to compete with each other. Of course, TVS wanted to compete with Royal Enfield, but Royal Enfield has a brand new model against the Ronin and vice versa. So that is the TVS Ronin, this is the Royal Enfield Hunter. These are entry level motorcycles and a lot of numbers match when it comes to comparison, and that's the reason why we bought them together. We've been riding them individually for quite a long time since their launch, and we've now put in almost 800 to 900 kilometers on both motorcycles over the last couple of months, and today we've got them back again to pitch them against each other and tell you what these motorcycles are, because I thought I usually mention about the competition in the solo reviews, but then again I thought this comparison has to be done side by side, and that's why they're here. Both these motorcycles cost around 1.70 lakh rupees ex showroom. They round about to the same price on road, of course, and but the Royal Enfield has a lower variant which is much more cheaper than the Ronin. The Ronin is pretty much a top spec variant altogether, and but the top end variant of both these motorcycles are similar, and what you see here is that only top end variants of these two motorcycles. Let's quickly try to wrap it up, because we've done solo reviews of both these motorcycles, and I'll finish something as soon as I can. In terms of design, let's begin with the design. I think the Ronin just looks much better at first glance. It's got a much more higher quality spec of components on it, so it looks really nice. The fit finish, the quality, the paint, this headlamp with the LED DRL in the T shape surprisingly looks really nice, and it's the side profile that really doesn't cut it for most people, and it's partly to the tank, because the lower half, the seat, the grab rail, which is also a little basic for the segment, is on offer, and the exhaust of course looks really nice. And I really like the cockpit of the Ronin. It behaves like a true roadster in that way, and you've got that single pod instrument cluster, which I've explained in the past with a full video as well as short videos, and like I said, fit finish, quality, everything looks really nice. There are a bit of things which are not that impressive, but I think this is down to this very particular motorcycle only. But now coming to the Royal Enfield Hunter, it looks like a true blue Royal Enfield shrunken down and made a bit more sportier as well. It's because of the 17-inch alloy wheels and the very tight headlamp that is on offer here, and you've got the seat also, which looks very retro and very modern at the same time. A very sporty look for the lower half on the Hunter. I really like what's going on here, and yeah, I think like I said, I'm just going to use the words as a shrunken down Royal Enfield, which is sportier. The stance is low, and in fact I think the stance is lower on the Hunter because of its the way everything has come out. But meanwhile the Ronin slightly has a higher stance because of these forks popping out, but at the same the numbers suggest that it's the Hunter that is slightly higher. So that is what the design of these two motorcycles are like. It's going to be very subjective. If I were to say, the Ronin looks the sportier of the lot, while the Hunter looks classy with sporty elements to a certain extent, making it look modern as possible as for a Royal Enfield. So yeah, we think it's completely up to you what you choose when it comes to design. What would we choose? Well, I'm also really confused between the two, but then again, for various other reasons which I'll tell you in the verdict, what do I prefer. And yeah, both of them have 17-inch alloy wheels. Of course, the Ronin is much better equipped. It's got a monoshock, it's got upside down forks, and it's got a oil cooled motor which makes 20 PS of power and 90 Newton meters of torque. And the Hunter here is a 350cc motorcycle, makes 20 PS of power but 27 Newton meters of torque. Both of them have 5-speed gearboxes, and most importantly, how are they like to ride? Well, if I were to sum it up as quickly as possible, the Ronin, let's begin with that first. It's a short geared, narrow power band motorcycle, so it feels stressed most of the time or when you're really going for it, and it doesn't feel as torquey as the Hunter, but the Ronin has much more refinement on offer. It feels much more smoother. The exhaust note is much better, much more louder also, and the brakes on the Ronin also feel much better. When it comes to handling, the Ronin feels surprisingly agile, very nimble in the city. In the corners, of course, it is very stable. The suspension is very soft, even for lighter riders. For heavier riders like me, it is even more soft, so you will have to tune the suspension a bit to suit your needs, but it is very stable around the corners. It is very quick around the corners as well. There is a good amount of grip from the Ronin. And overall, the Ronin is a very easy motorcycle to ride. It's going to be a fantastic commuter in the city, but the only problem with the Ronin is that it doesn't feel very highway friendly. The stressful engine shows its character on the highway, and it feels stress. Our Bombay Pune run with it has always been quite loud and slightly buzzy, but it hasn't given you it doesn't give you that relaxing feel from the motorcycle, and that's the only sore point with the Ronin. With the Hunter though, surprisingly, it's got an ideal balance when it comes to the powertrain, because it is tall geared. The power band is also slight. It's not a narrow power band, it's a slightly higher power band because it's got taller gearing, so you can drive it higher till the RPM limit. It feels more torquey, of course, because it has almost 8 Newton meters of torque more over the Ronin, but it is also heavier by a good 7-8 kilograms. And all of that combination, when it comes to the powertrain, feels that the Hunter feels the most relaxed motorcycle of the lot within the city or on the highway. It just feels much more relaxed. And that's what Royal Enfields are known for, and the Hunter also does that in a different way, in a much more sportier way, because like I said, it's tall geared and it's not a Bullet 350 of the past where it's narrow power band and only applies for torque in the low end and mid range. Here on the top end also, the Hunter feels very stress free, so that is the reason why the Hunter appeals to a lot of people, and it has been recommended by us for that very same aspect as well. And the engine is also because it's stress free, it is also running a bit more smoother, and it just feels nice on the highway as well as in the city. The Ronin feels much more easier in the city, but the Hunter in the powertrain aspect feels great on the highway as well as in the city. But when it comes to handling, I like the handling of the Royal Enfield Hunter. It is agile, but it isn't that nimble. It feels heavy when you're cornering, and it needs much better suspension. It's still dealing with it has the twin shocks at the back. That is what we criticized first, and that's what we thought when we first saw the Hunter unveiled, is that we were expecting a monoshock, but I don't think Royal Enfield is doing that anytime soon. They're going to stick to the dual setup because of the retro feel and the retro thing that they're trying to achieve with the Hunter as well, and that is what our expectation was from the Hunter. And but like I said, it still feels agile, but it could have felt more nimble. It is stable on the highway. It corners, it drops into corners really well. It turns into corners also quite quickly, and it feels stable while doing so. It is stable on high speeds as well. It feels much more reassuring than the Ronin. For some reason, I think it's down to the weight and to the soft suspension, because the Ronin is slightly stiff and it's slightly tall. So that's what gives the Ronin the agility, and Hunter, for what it has, gives it stability. And it's up to you to decide what you will really look forward to in your motorcycle. If you want a highway motorcycle, the Royal Enfield Hunter is for you. For if you're going to be doing intercity runs from one part of the city to the other, and those corners can be 40-50 kilometers away, so that in that aspect you should consider the Ronin. Now coming to the verdict part, let me tell you our final thoughts on both these motorcycles. So we are now at the end of the review, and this is what our verdict is. Quite simply, the Ronin is the most appealing motorcycle of the lot. It looks really nice at first glance. Of course, its styling could have been better, and we think the Hunter looks much more proportionate, nice, and a proper Royal Enfield of the modern day. And it's got some sporty elements as well. It's got a nice easy and comfortable stance, and at the same time it caters to taller riders as well as shorter riders, and it's great on the city and on highway as well when it comes to powertrain and ergonomics. But the handling isn't that great. It still feels heavy. The suspension could have been much more modern, and that's where the Ronin steps in. It feels great on the highway despite it's got a very stressed powertrain. The handling makes up for it. So if you're down for a twisty road, you will feel the engine is much more stressed and much more louder, and what that also means that you will have a good engaging time with the motorcycle without any fatigue. With the Enfield, our long term, like the long runs that we've done on the Hunter, feel like it is a little bit taxing, and that's where the Ronin steps in and makes you realize that even if it's stressed and even if it's not comfortable for taller riders, it somehow manages with a great chassis balance that it has. And I have not come to the most important part yet, which is the features list. The humongous features list that the TVS Ronin has: LED lights, LED DRL, USD forks, mono shock, much better on quality. You've got Bluetooth connectivity, you've got smartphone connectivity, you've got a fully loaded instrument cluster which shows you a lot, and all of that is missing on the Hunter while it is priced similar to the Ronin. So the TVS Ronin has the value aspect for it. It is still great for city rides. It is manageable on the highway. And that is why it wins our test here. It is everything, but then again, Ronin also needs a whole lot of improvement. I think a bigger motorcycle on the same platform will just solve the problems entirely, and I urge TVS to make something like that as soon as possible. And that is our comparison of the TVS Ronin and the Royal Enfield Hunter. If you like this comparison, if you want us to do more things like that, comment, subscribe, support, follow us on our social media and website for everyday updates. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until then, goodbye.